So I'm just trying to find a piece here that's maybe 12 inches by 3.5 by 3/4 inch thick. Something I can cut up into a box. This'll do. Next, I'm going to mark a line down the center of the edge of the board, and then I'm going to measure in about 4 inches from each end, and I'm going to mark each side of the cut so I remember how to put it back together later. Now to cut it up. First, I'm going to resaw it on the bandsaw down my center line, and I'm going to take it over to the joiner and run my cut side through the joiner so that we take off as little amount of material as possible, and then just clean it up on the thickness planer, make sure it's all a uniform thickness. Now I'll take it to the miter saw where I cut it down to its final dimension. Alright, here's our board put back together with our letters all lined up. Now what we'll do is take the pieces closest to us and we'll move them to the outside. What that does is all the grain that was in the center of the board is now on the outside of the box. At this point, I like to go ahead and mark which direction my miter cuts are going to go, because I know I'm going to screw that up later. And then back to the miter saw to make the miter cuts. Obviously you can make these a little more accurately at the table saw, but I chose to do it this way. And once I've got all the miters cut, I'm going to check and make sure I've got all the grains lined up the way they should be. They look good. Off camera, I cut a couple of dados in each side, 1/4 inch. And I'm going to use those to mark my top and bottom to cut those to size. Once I get the length cut, I'll put the sides on, lay it down, so I can mark the width. Once I get that cut to size, I'm going to do a dry fit here, just to make sure all the miters are tight, everything's fitting like it should, my grains are all going the right direction. Let's see what we got here. Nice. And I just repeat the process for the other side, and again do a dry fit just to make sure everything fits the way it should, all the miters are tight, everything's sealed up. Next, I just do a quick hand sanding on what's going to be the inside of the box, because that's going to be impossible to reach later. For the glue up, I'm going to use the green tape method. I'll take a straight edge and line my pieces up so they're nice and flush. Get that tape nice and tight. Repeat that on 3 of the corners. I'll tape up the 4th one once it's all assembled. And once the glue is dry, we'll go ahead and peel off the tape. All 4 corners. Check out our work here. Ooh, fancy. And we'll just hit it with some quick sandpaper real quick. Clean it up. Alright, here's where things might get a little sketchy. Please, if you are not comfortable doing this, do not do it. Use your normal table saw blade. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to take that blade off, and I'm going to grab a circular saw blade, same arbor size. It's got a much thinner curve. That way I'm not taking off as much material between the bottom of the box and what will become the lid. Again, don't do this if you're not comfortable, because you have to take the rhyming knife off. But I'm only raising the blade up just enough to cut through that outside shell. I just determine where the cut's going to be. Run the 4 sides through very carefully. Now for the inside of the box. I had 2 pieces cut before I realized I needed to turn the camera on, but here's my process for the other 2. I've got a miter cut on the one side, and I'm just going to mark where the other cut needs to be. Again, no measuring, just cutting directly off of my piece. That way I know it's a nice tight fit. Same thing with the short side. And I leave the insides about a 1/4 inch proud. That way the lid can stay on. And now it's time to glue the insides in. Just put a light coat of glue. I don't want any squeeze out going into the bottom because I'm not going to be able to get that out. And we just glue them in. And I just use the little clip-on spring-loaded clamps there to hold them tight while the glue dries. Once the glue is dried, I'll hit it with some sandpaper just to clean it up a bit, break down all the edges. Then I'll apply some Atomic Finishes wood oil to the entire thing, inside and out, top and bottom. And if I've done everything right and got my lid on the right way, whoops, that grain should wrap around the entire box, all 4 sides.